Not the kind of breath that makes it apparent that you're filled with strife, but the kind of breath that'll save us from a deathly type of living called mediocrity. So stop for me and think a sec. What's the most worthless thing we'll encounter in this world, more or less? And yet from the dirt we rose, insignificant and not worth a cent. But the artist still let out a long and heavy breath of life. So trivial and unimportant did we stand. With that simple sigh God gave, did we find a purpose in this land? Don't misunderstand. Mankind ran and ran in a scattered spectacular in an attempt to find the brand that labeled them. And in this confusion, we lost sight of the individuality that's only been fabled here. But the truth is, we were made to be greater than the falsities and lies why the tablespoon this world is fed to the masses. Look where your trash is and tell me you won't find a battered soul that drove in the fast lane like he's always been told. And suddenly, the artist let out a long and heavy breath of life. And like a hurricane wind did God's Spirit sweep through the hearts of a young generation that inspired them to live a life of love rather than the hate that their predecessors inscribed in them. Just as it was the artist's intention for his creation, the young generation stood up to the grassroots, rebels without a pause for the temptations rampant in the forest filled with forbidden fruit. Inebriated with faith and addicted to freedom, did these soldiers soldier on to spread the love that God gave them. And though at times they fell in the dark, they always had that light in them to find a way back out. And the artist let out a long and heavy breath, filled with relief that his artwork was safe and sound, here in the now, figuring out that though battle-worn and weary, they always had an unbreakable armor that satiated their doubts and their worries. Worth more than the most precious treasures in this world, these warriors humbled themselves down to be servants. From the dirt they rose, insignificant and not worth a cent, but given a purpose, and now down to the dirt they knelt, an act of freedom as they did so willingly in order to serve a God that loved them unconditionally. They protected and prepared their hearts from those that tried to fill it with hate. Families, friends, and lovers had to seek God in order to relate to them. They never bent to abuse and misuse of their minds and their bodies. They strived for the truth, and in essence to be godly. And they chose to spread that fire that sparked in their hearts, because a purpose so grand cannot be contained in one man. Despite their actions of servanthood, they were viewed in the eyes of their Creator to be the masters of their land, because they reigned with love, which can conquer even the most adamant of stone. They are set apart from the standards, and it all started with a breath. It sparked a revolution, always found God in everyone, never settled for less.
Brothers and sisters, if you can give it a round of applause for Jonathan Chidioco, Section 4, Living Strong.